Hello, friends. Hello, brothers. This is Justin with Masonic Improvement with our first installation of the Faces of Freemasonry series that I just decided we were going to do. So I have a very distinguished guest today, the legendary Tyler Smith. Tyler, would you like to go ahead and say hi?
Hey, how you doing?
He is meeting with us via Zoom today, and he is the first guinea pig of this series of interviews. Before we start, I do want to just make the disclaimer that any opinions or viewpoints or thoughts shared in this or any interview does not represent the viewpoints of any lodge or Grand Lodge. It is solely the opinions of those that are participating in this interview. So with all that being said, again, Tyler Smith, everybody. Tyler, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Tyler Smith. I'm a kidney dialysis nurse. I joined Freemasonry in, what year is it now? Joined in 2019. I went through the traditional way. I got my EA, did all the work, turned it in, got the FC, turned in my work, and I'm a freshly raised Master Mason. I was raised in January of 2020.
Did you turn your work for your master's yet?
I have.
You
Yes,
have?
sir.
Okay. All right. Could remember.
I'm full blown, the real deal.
Full blown, huh? So you said the traditional way. You didn't know there was another way until we had our little meeting.
No, I didn't know there was another way until we had that little round table. That round table was really eye opening for a lot of stuff, especially having a Mason from a Master Mason from three different states present. Especially the one of the guys was District Grand Deputy, wasn't he? Or
yeah, I believe so. Whatever the equivalent is for the state that he's in. Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely a wide variety of practices that are in place here in the United States and around the rest of the world as well. So Tyler, why don't you just share with us what brought you to the fraternity to start with?
So I was sitting at home and Netflix has that Inside Freemasonry thing video.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I was like, oh man, it looks pretty cool. All these guys walking around with all this regalia on and these jewels and their white gloves and their ceremonies. And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know a Mason. I don't know anybody that's ever been a Mason.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched that whole series. It's like 5 or 6 episodes. I watched all of them and I was like, okay, this looks really cool. So then I got on, started Googling. I was like, hey, crap, there's a Mason lodge right down the street from the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I never see anybody there or anything. And so I emailed every Mason lodge within a 30-mile radius of my house. And one lodge got back to me. That's it.
Ballpark, how many lodges would that be?
I mass emailed like at least 20 lodges.
So you emailed 20 lodges and got about, so to this day, you've only got one response.
To this day, I got one response, and I got an apology from another one.
Yeah.
Then the apology I got was at my raising ceremony, like when I was being raised. He's like, why didn't you apply for this lodge? And I was like, because y'all didn't get back to me. This one got back to me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, oh, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
So I think, especially with the current situation in the world, it's really kind of put an emphasis on being able to adapt. For example, many jobs, that used to require you to do things in person and face to face, had to quickly adapt to doing things from home, through meetings like this and other means. And
right,
just shows how behind we can be. If we want to appeal to younger generations, and we want to move forward, because Freemasonry historically has always been kind of on the forefront of technology. And we have somewhere fallen behind. If you can email 20 lodges and get, one response back promptly and then an apology response sometime later. So that's, that's a 10th.
A year later.
Yeah. And so that just goes to show we have so far to go relative to historically, when you look at how it used to be on the forefront, um, a brother of mine, he shared something called a magic box. You know what that is?
Like, I mean, I can guess, but go ahead and tell me what it is, so I know we're all on the same page what it is.
So a magic box is kind of a precursor to projectors and things like this. And so you had shapes that were basically put in like this. It was either like a cylinder or something, and you had a light source in the middle, like
Okay.
like a candle, and
Mm-hmm.
they would display these shapes on the walls. And this was
Right.
these were used very early on in the fraternity and some lodges to help illustrate and explain the lectures and things like that. And later on, once projectors came in fashion, we were on top of that too. We were using projectors in lodges for our lectures and things like this also. And so somewhere along the line, we just dropped the ball on all these things, and it's unfortunate because now it's coming to kind of bite us in the butt because who knows? You're telling me one story. Who knows how many other people reached out to
Yeah.
lodges and
No
probably just
doubt.
walked away or just gave up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, like technology and Freemasonry have trouble hand in handing together because because of the privacy. I'm not going to say secrecy, but because of the privacy that a lot of the things that we do require.
Mm-hmm.
Technology and Freemasonry don't really go together very well. So we, as the upcoming Freemasons, have to find a way to integrate technology and still keep things the old way, but find a way to make technology work for us instead of against us.
I think there has to be
Especially, right, there has to be a compromise. But with technology, we've gotten into this this right now culture.
mm-hmm.
Where have to have things done right now.
Yeah.
Anybody that is
Which
gone
totally
through this
flies in the
process,
face of Freemasonry.
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody that's gone through this process knows like it's going to be a month. For most lodges meet once a month.
Mm-hmm.
So when you meet for a stated meeting, you vote on a candidate, or you go for a stated meeting meal and you get your petition. Next month you turn in your petition. The next month they vote on your petition. Or sometimes it's the same night, but generally it's the next month because they have to do we have to do the with the I just drew a blank. You have to meet with the guys and they have to do their investigations.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's sometimes it's take a month to get it done. So I mean, you're looking at 6 months sometimes from the time you met with them to the time you turn it in. Then you turn around and you're like, oh crap, do anything? I can really do anything, or I can wear a ring, or I can wear a T-shirt, or whatever. But I mean, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing because there's a gratifying sense that you did all this work,
mm-hmm.
and I mean, and like we were talking in that round table, when you do all that work in 1 or 2 days or a week or whatever, you miss the gravity of what you're actually doing. And so like for instance, I think that's what I think there's a lot of brothers that's kind of slid off of that path where they're like, like this is a brotherhood, we need to keep this out, this out, this in, guard the west gate, stuff like that. And there's a lot of that stuff that gets kind of put by the wayside, just I don't know, out of convenience or
yeah,
we all forget.
So there's two things I want to touch on this. I want to backtrack a little bit because we talked about the technology and the compromise and everything. So there's nothing that can replace being face to face with a brother Mason. In an actual lodge room, shaking their hand when we could do that again, and sitting next to them and actually sitting in the lodge. Nothing can replace that. And so I don't think there's any technology that ever will. Even with virtual reality where it's going, it's still not going to be the same, right? But there are other things that we can do that aren't really, we're not at risk of losing any of the secrecy or anything like this. For example, many lodges and grand lodges still don't allow you to pay dues electronically. right?
Oh
So
yeah.
I have to do like a physical check or something. Many Grand Lodges, there's still some Grand Lodges that don't have a online storefront for their own merchandise, and they have been working on it for years to do this. Years to work on a virtual storefront. I could go build one right now, you know.
Yeah. Heck, I live stream. It took me 10 minutes to set up a storefront for my merch.
Yeah, and so, but little things like that, little things like being able to check your email on a regular basis, you know, having a decent website, having a presence on social media, you know, things like that aren't, they individually they seem small, but they add up. They're cumulative, and in today's day and age, where so many people, the first place they're going to look, they're not gonna look on the map for a local lodge or something. They're going to Google. They're
No.
going to Google Freemasonry. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
Google, you know, like Freemasonry into your town here or your state here, and there needs to be something appealing and user friendly and prompt when trying to do some
Oh
kind of
yeah.
research. The other thing is you talked about how, you know, you had to work for what you did, you know, in the traditional sense. You know, we have to go through degrees. There's a certain amount of work. I mean, it's the amount of stuff you have to memorize, especially here in Texas, is nothing short of is not ridiculous in a bad way, just ridiculous in the sheer
Oh yeah.
quantity. I mean,
It's overwhelming.
it's a feat. It's a feat of memorization to be able to remember and recall all that information. And then later on, when you add on, you know, the ritual work and everything like this. But the point I wanted to make is I firmly believe, you know, if something's easy to get, it's easy to give up also.
Oh yeah.
So the quicker and easier something comes across, the less value you're going to put on it, and the more easily you're going to discard it. So if Freemasonry is cheap and fast and easy to become a member, and you try it out for a month, and like, you know, not what I thought. You just walk away from it, and you're always
Yeah.
going to be a statistic in poor retention at that point.
Oh yeah.
So, with that said, what has been? Let me back up, because you said you watched the Freemason documentary on Netflix, which I watched it also. Inside the
Yeah.
Freemason, I think it's called. It's a good documentary. Um, based off the expectations that set and the reality, what discrepancies did you really come across?
So with that documentary, like once you get into it, what you realize is that documentary is based on a Grand Lodge meeting, and they're different, and they're really kinds, and you know they other stuff, you know, as far as the drinking and the camaraderie and the brotherhood before and after whatever they do. But like, you know, in a normal lodge meeting, you show up, you go, everybody shows up, you eat dinner. It's usually something quick, easy, cheap, and then you all set for in a lodge for an hour and pay bills. But you know, you don't have all the regalia and all the gloves and all the fancy stuff that you see in the documentary, you know.
Yeah.
And so I can't say it was really a letdown. It's just, oh, this is different.
It's kind of a, so I might have to rewatch the series, but I think there was some Grand Lodge stuff in there, but I think the majority of this, it was based out of English lodges. So like in the UK, and I think a lot of those actually were just your typical UK experiences in their lodges, with the nice dress and all this kind of stuff. There was actually a visiting brother from the UK, and he went and visited a local. I don't remember. I don't think he moved down here. He was down for business or maybe to visit family, and he was at a kind of a local lodge, and he showed up to visit, and he was dressed like you would normally dress in the UK, right? And so he came to a lodge. I won't name the. I don't want to throw any lodges under the bus, but it was probably about the same size as our lodge. Okay.
Okay.
And so he shows up in a tux with the white gloves I mean, the whole 9 yards, and everyone else is sitting there like in overalls and blue jeans, like, what is the deal with this guy? And so he reached out to his Grand Lodge, and he's like, well, what should I do? Because I'm the only one probably in the county wearing a tie right now. And his Grand Lodge responded to him and said, basically, as long as you are an English Mason and you're sitting in a lodge, you will dress based off what's expected of you. Yeah. And so, I mean, if he was going to visit a lodge, he had to do it. He had to wear the tux and the gloves and the whole 9 yards. It's just a different approach, I think, a different mentality.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can't. I mean, I don't know. We just in the States, especially in Texas, and people that aren't Texans won't understand this, but Texans treat life a little differently. Like I was talking to somebody, and they're like now we have this mandatory mask order where I live,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, well, I'm not wearing a mask. Why? I mean, dude, it's really not that big of a deal. Just slap it on, go in the store, and come out. But no, I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm like, you wear a seatbelt. They told you had to wear a seatbelt.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I'm not wearing. Stop being stubborn, dude. Just do it and be done with it. Like, you could argue for an hour, but like, us Texans, we are stubborn to the point that you're not going to tell me that I have to do something.
Really, if you want a Texan to do something, you tell them to do the opposite of what you want, because we're just so stubborn by nature.
Yeah.
So if you tell us to wear a mask,
don't wear a mask.
Yeah, it's like, whatever you do not wear a mask anywhere. Yeah. They're like, oh really? Well, I'm gonna sleep in a mask. I'm gonna wear it everywhere I go.
That's true. That's totally a Texas way of outlook. I mean, and and a lot of that just comes from our history. Like, we're a very rebellious history kind of people. But anyway.
So really, if you wanted to fix the dress issue here in Texas, if the Grand Master was to say, I require everybody to wear overalls, and,
exactly,
all their lodge meetings, it'd be like, oh really? You're gonna tell me I'm gonna wear a tuxedo now just because you told me to wear overalls?
Brother Underwood just needs to come out with a blanket statement. He's like, all right, from now on, all lodge meetings, mandatory pool party dress code.
Yeah. Come in like you just got in off work. Oh really? Okay. Well, I'm gonna wear a tuxedo because you told me. Yeah. Problem solved. You say, I think dues should be as low as you could. I'm going to mandate that dues need to be as low as they can be. Oh, really? Well, I'm going to actually make them reasonable now. So, yeah, just go opposite of what anything you say here in Texas.
No, like I'm curious to see how the mood changes when we start looking at the bank sheets. With us not being able to do fundraisers and stuff right now, because I mean, we have to pay the bills. We have to pay for things. There's things that we have to pay for, and we're not getting those from the fundraisers that we would normally get those from.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're gonna have to do something with our dues.
So the thing is,
are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. The thing is, with the situation you're talking about, is we're still pretty limited on what we can do. We can meet for our monthly stated meetings and everything, but we can't do anything extra than that. We can't do called meetings, and really we're not supposed to do anything in a large capacity from a fundraising perspective, and right. That's not even necessarily a like a Grand Lodge mandate. It's almost like a state and local government kind of thing where don't need to be so many places, so many people in so many places. So that's a valid question, and who knows when we're going to be at a point where we're going to be able to function like that again. So that's going to have to bring up that question at some point. And I promise you what will happen, not every lodge, but you're going to see some lodges where their finances are going to get hard. And what you're either going to end up with are a few people footing the bill for their lodge, or lodges shutting down because they're not financially viable. And this is
Yeah.
instead of considering, hey, if we raised the dues and everybody paid a little bit extra, then we would probably be okay. Those
Yeah.
local lodge had a similar situation where they never really did fundraising. They just had a kind of a sweet gig in their town. They had someone renting out their bottom floor, and their renters decided that they were going to move elsewhere. But what you ended up with was, this was an old building, one of old downtown kind of buildings, in kind of a dying community. So there was no real market for this bottom floor. And so instead of looking at their options as far as, they didn't want to do, I don't know if they tried fundraising or they just didn't want to do it, but they didn't really consider just raising their dues. I know that much. They didn't look at that as an option. And if they had done that, they might have been okay from a financial perspective, but instead they ended up having to merge.
Yeah. I mean, I understand there's a lot of older brothers that are on fixed incomes and this and that, but a lot of those guys are already lifelong members. What is that called? Endowed members?
Yeah. Endowments or
Like a lot of
lifelong memberships and things like that.
Yeah. Those guys don't pay dues, right?
No. So if you buy an endowment, which I won't comment on the endowment program, but if you buy an endowment, then basically you don't pay dues the rest of your life. And also, if you have been a member for a certain number of years, I believe it's 50, may even be less than that, but I think it's 50. Once you're a 50-year member of the fraternity, then, or 50-year member of the lodge, I can't remember which one specifically, but you're exempt from dues from now on. After that too, you're a life member.
Yeah.
And so that
I wouldn't mind mine doubling.
You wouldn't mind what?
I wouldn't mind our dues doubling. I could deal with that. Especially if it helps out, I should have to sell less raffle tickets.
Yeah, I'll
happily pay my double dues.
There's a raffle going on at my lodge right now, and I did not take a ticket. I'm not going to sell any tickets. I would gladly pay you more dues. I'll gladly write you a check, but I'm not going to do any kind of raffle tickets. I'm not going to go and approach people and try to sell things to them like that.
I don't like selling stuff.
Yeah, I'll do small things here and there, like if you need help, cooking food or something like that. I'll do something like that, for the lodge. But if you're doing it as like a fundraiser, here the problem with fundraising is this. Basically, there's two reasons you do fundraising: is either to keep your building running, or to turn around and give it away. And so, if you're doing it to keep the building running, why should other people foot the bill for you? Why should other people pay for your hobbies and your self betterment? That's your thing. That's your task. That's your burden to pay. And if you're doing it for charity or fundraising, if you're raising money and you turn around and give it away, it's not your money. It was never yours because you just took it and gave it away. Charity. Is, I take out my wallet and write a check right now. Charity hurts. Charity, you feel that missing money. If I just if my neighbor gives me $10 and I turn around and donate it to the Shriners Hospital, that was never really my money anyway. Easy come, easy go. It's no pain there.
But it makes you look good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's good publicity. You can put it in the newspaper. You can post it on Facebook. Hey, look at all this money we donated. Please join us. Please become one of us. Yeah. And then people join under the false impression of that's what you're really created to do.
Right.
So let me ask you, let me see, we got a few more minutes here. Let me ask you, if you had a kind of a magic wand and you could change any one thing about the fraternity, what would you probably change?
I don't know. We just, I think we need to do a better job of using the tools that we're taught to use for good.
For good?
For good, not for evil, I guess. Some people think
like
we use it for
the betterment of society. Is that what you're saying?
The betterment of society and the betterment of the Mason.
Mm-hmm.
like the individual person. Like if everybody used the tools that we were given, like we would have a lot happier Masons. Like, you know, like I don't know if you heard it or not, but I was talking about time management. I use my time management tool very, very religiously throughout my day. Like it's something that I've actually, like, this from the second that I've learned about the time management tool in Freemasonry,
Mm-hmm.
I've used that to help kind of guide me through my days.
Yeah. That makes,
And I'm tiptoeing around stuff because I don't know what all is I can't remember what all is like secretive and not. So
it's all good.
just
We know
trying
what
to
you're
be vague
talking
with
about.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's, when you were breaking up there earlier, I made out that you were talking about some of the, like the more notable Freemasons, you know, historically. And I think that applies a lot to
Mm-hmm.
what you're talking about, you know, for the betterment of society, you know, and ourselves. When you look at, for example, the founding of United States and even the founding of the Republic of Texas and things like this, there was a lot of Freemasons involved, right? And if you look at the
Right.
biographies of some of these people, like Benjamin Franklin and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and so on and so forth, you know, these guys weren't just lawyers or just doctors. You know, they were like, he was a lawyer that also volunteered at the fire department, that also was on probably like 10 different boards and wrote a few books. And so these people were very prolific in their professional and public life. And I think somewhere along the lines we kind of lost that. You know, if you want the world to be a better place, then you need to put good people, or at least better people than what we have, in charge. You know, they need to be the ones that are volunteering. And this isn't like from a global domination perspective or anything like that. I'm not, you know, suggesting any crap like that. But, you know, every community has boards and organizations that, you know, their purpose is to serve the people of that community and help, you know, help the community itself to thrive. And most of these organizations, most of these boards, most of these volunteer positions are empty. You know, they're starving for people to step up and volunteer and help out. And this is where we as a fraternity are, especially in uh, comparison to how active we were in the past. You know, from a historical uh, figure perspective. You know, this is prime opportunity where we can step up. You know, I'm on a few boards, and I'm on a like a board for a water company. We meet once a month for an hour. You can't tell me someone doesn't have time for that. The Chamber of Commerce I'm on, we meet a few more times a month, but it's not so time consuming that anybody couldn't do it. And there's plenty of opportunities out there in every community and in every organization. And if we were to just step up and apply what we have learned to ourselves and our endeavors, I agree with you. We could do a lot of good in this world.
And I think a lot of that comes too from like your city, like you're talking about the Chamber of Commerce or
Mm-hmm.
Commerce. Like that's a structure that's been set up and it's been rigid and it's worked. You know, they've molded it where they needed to. But like I don't know about committees that need volunteers, or I would volunteer for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about these things because there's no database, there's no listing of what we need done. Like
Yeah.
it goes back to what you're talking about with hand in hand with technology. We have a Grand Lodge website. We have Facebook pages by each lodges for each
Mm-hmm.
lodge. Like why don't like if we need a committee done, why can't we post on there like, hey, we need these committees done, or send out like private messages to all the members.
Yeah.
Like we need these positions filled. Anybody want to do them?
So one thing that the viewers won't know about, but you know, you and I were on the roundtable last week with just a few Masons from other states, and one of the brothers mentioned something that he did was he created an email list for the members of his lodge. And, once a week he sent out an update just saying what was going on. And so this ties in perfectly with what you're saying. If there is a need for something, many brothers want to help out, but they don't know necessarily what is needed. And they would probably come back to lodge if they felt like there was something that they could do to be productive.
Right.
And so if you were to create a list like that and just say, look, this is what's going on. These are our projects. This is what we need. If anyone can help out with this, or these are the committees we have empty. If anyone wants to help out with that, then please let us know. And you could even do that. So here in Texas, we have our jurisdiction divided into districts. And so you could do it from a district perspective also. You could a district, like the district deputy could create a district mailing list and say, look, this is what these lodges are, this is what they have going on. This is when the meetings are. This is when the degrees are. This is what they are looking for. So if you want to help out, if you want to pitch in, this is who you contact. This is what you do.
Yeah. Or even things like I'd message you about wanting to be on I want to be able to do last rites and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we had like a funeral team that did brothers' last rites, and if we had teams that did these certain things, and or degree teams, etc., like you would have that option available to you to learn those skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gives you. I mean, you get out of it. Freemasonry is the kind of thing you get out of it what you put into it. But I just need the opportunity, the opportunity to put more into it.
Yeah. Well, the new master will often ask, what do I do now after he's turned in all his work? And past master will say, well, you'll get out of the fraternity what you put into it, and just kind of leave it at that, and yeah. the new master is just standing there like, I don't know what that means. Where do I put into it to get something out of it? And that's why a lot of them leave, I think, is because they're once that structured guidance is over, because we do a really good job. We have a very structured process to get everyone through the degrees. And so you always know, this is what I need to be working on. This is what's expected of me. This is what I need to be able to do. And then once you're done with that, all you get out of what we put into it at this point. All that structure is gone, and the people that make it through this process, I think, are the kind of people that thrive under that structure. And as soon as you take it away and you say, there's no more structure now, you're just on your own, then there's so much to Freemasonry. There's so much, it's so broad, and there's so much depth to it.
Yeah.
And there's so many rabbit holes you can go down. It's intimidating. And for the new guy just looking at this vast expanse of esoterica and memory work and officers and required learning and books and things that you could do, you don't have any idea where to start. And that's where we need to pick that up. We need to say, what's your interest? What do you want to do? What do you?
No, I completely agree with it. I can completely agree with you on that. Like, as a new master myself, like I want to do more. Like I'm interested in stuff. Mm-hmm. I just don't know what there's so many different directions that I could be pulled. And fortunately for me, the leadership that was there in place when I was raised, has always been pushed me, because my first thing that I want to do is I want to end up being a past master. Mm-hmm. I just want that tag. I want to be a past master. I want to give something to the craft and leave my mark. And so fortunately, there's people that are in my lodge that are like, hey, we don't have this guy. I need you to fill in for this seat. Or, hey, I don't have this. I need you to fill in for that seat. So I get pushed into these roles that I wouldn't normally have just volunteered for. But what it does is it gives me exposure to those roles. So like in my lodge, I've been doing this, 6 months now, 7 months. I mean, I've already played, I know the Tyler role. I've played the junior deacon. I've played all these different roles around the lodge. Mm-hmm. And so I know, I've been exposed to these things, and I know kind of what to expect.
Yeah. And so you're on the right track. And to anyone listening, if they're in a similar position where, they would want to be a past master at some point, that's what I would recommend. Start with the basics. Start with the most basic offices and learn the work and demonstrate to people, that you're capable of doing basic memorization, taking the ritual and degree seriously, and implementing it. and then don't ask for permission. Start memorizing. Go from the bottom up. So learn the Tylers because it's basic, right? And then learn all the deacons' work, and then start working on the wardens. Start learning their stuff. There's nothing stopping you from learning it. And then one day when someone's out and they need a warden, you say, "Hey, I know it. Let me do it." And once you've demonstrated that proficiency, eventually there's going to come a time that they're going to be looking at upcoming officers, and they're going to say, Tyler knows it already. Why can't we put him in it?
Yeah. Okay. If you're an EA or a fellow craft, just because, and very loosely meant this term, just because you're an underclassman don't mean you have to be a ghost. Like, find a spot. Like for when I was an EA or a fellow craft, like, I'd always pop in and say, "Hey, what do you need? What do you need?" And like, I'd clear plates from dinner, or I'd help do the dishes, or I'd help cook the food, or whatever they needed done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't be a ghost. Just do stuff around the lodge, and people will notice you, and you become more of a brother that way.
Yeah.
Like, they call on you for more stuff.
I think we kind of trap ourselves. We ask for permission too much. There's no reason you can't go and volunteer to help. Ask what do you need? What can I do for you? There's no reason you can't learn the officers' positions like we're talking about. If you want to help out with degrees, pick your favorite position, your favorite degree, and just learn it. Ask for permission. Just learn it. And then when it comes up, hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right.
Hello.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I have full service, like perfect service.
I don't know. I was just saying.
And I video call people all the time.
I was just saying, don't ask for permission. Just go out and learn, and then just turn it in. And this proficiency, it just comes up whenever there's a degree or something. That's your proficiency. If you don't learn an officer position, your proficiency is whenever you're actually filling that position. Same thing with a degree. If you want to fill a role in a degree, learn it, and then your proficiency is the first time you actually fill that role in that degree. And once you pass that proficiency, once you demonstrate you know it, you're good. People want you to keep doing it, and you just keep growing from there.
Yeah, you just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Don't ever get stagnant.
All right, brother. Well, we're getting on that 45-minute mark that I promised you.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to add? Any just parting words of wisdom you want to share with everybody?
Not really. I mean, just treat a brother like a brother.
Mm-hmm.
Leave the political BS out of it. You don't need to try to make everybody believe what you believe. Just treat the craft with respect. And treat your brothers with respect, That's all I really got for you.
Sounds simple, but we often lose sight of that, don't we?
We do.
Yeah. All right. Well, brother Tyler Smith, I definitely appreciate you volunteering to be my first interviewee, and I have thoroughly enjoyed talking with you second time around. And I feel like this was a very good interview. I feel like it was very informative. And yeah, so did you want to leave I know you have your own little YouTube project. Did you want to just mention that real quick before we go?
Oh, no, I'm good.
You don't want to? Okay.
No, I'm good.
All
Appreciate
right.
it, though. Appreciate
no problem at all. All right. Well, Tyler Smith, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again, brother. It was a pleasure.
Always a good one.